What's the YouTube? Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a highly requested profile hybrid. Today is the turn of Blue Eyes White Forest. Now, as a disclaimer, this does not involve any Azamina fusion plays, any deceptions, any witches, or anything like that. It is pretty much Blue Eyes with the White Forests. If you want to see the Azamina version, then let me know in the comments down below and get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I will bring that for you. The big difference between the two is you start adding in Deception, you start adding in Witch. It gives you the ability to protect from Nibiru a little bit earlier on as well, and then that kind of gives you a bit more of a White Forest Azamina feel, rather than just pure Blue Eyes with White Forest, as I felt that this was more of a synergized route, and it provided a bit more of the spellcasters into the Blue Eyes engines. And the one big benefit that the White Forest has in comparison to a lot of the other different Blue Eyes hybrids is the White Forest is one of the very few engines that allow you to work your way from a White Forest element into the Blue Eyes by being able to search out Sage of Eyes of Blue. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'll show you a very basic combo at the end of the video as well to show you what you can kind of produce with this particular hybrid. So going through the Blue Eyes cards themselves, this is all relatively standard on this one. So we're going with 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon, alongside 3 Sage of Eyes of Blue, 3 Maiden, and then 3 Wishes, followed up by the one-ofs of Mausoleum, Roar, True Light, and Majesty. This is pretty staple. This is the baseline you'd be looking to be playing in any particular Blue Eyes deck, whether it be the pure version, the hybrid version, the Primite version, you name it. This would be the least that you'd be looking for. I can't imagine you'd want to be playing any less than that. For the White Forest cards, this is where you start to get a bit more synergy. So for the White Forest cards, we are playing triple Sylvie. So the idea behind the Sylvie is this is your ideal normal summon, because on normal or special you get to add a White Forest spell or trap from the deck to the hand, and then that's when you can start setting up your plays for your other White Forest extenders or your White Forest starters if you do need to rely on a Stella a little bit more. So for the other cards, we are playing 2 LZ. The idea behind this is the LZ being a spellcaster gives you that additional bridge to go into the Blue Eyes Link 1. But then what you also want to make sure you're doing when you're making these plays is if you can save your normal summon or work your way into the Synchro in the form of your Reselia, this will then allow you to search out a level 1 or just a light spellcaster monster. So that's how you're going to be able to get to your Sage of Eyes of Blue. And that's how you're going to be able to go from White Forests into it. And the idea behind this is your Sylvie will search you out your Tails. You'd be able to activate Tails to get your LZ, and then all you need is another spell trap to be able to be sent, which allows you to get your LZ to the field, which can then work you into the Reselia, and then all you need to do is work your way into being able to get Sage to the field as well. For your other starters, we do play the 2 Stellas. You can play this at 1 if you want to as well. It really is entirely up to you. The other card that I'm also playing is the LZ Azamina of the White Forest, but the idea behind this one is it can either summon itself, which is going to be more effective in the LZ, in the Azamina version, but what you're going to want to use this more times than not for is this is how you can utilize a Stella and or Sylvie, because you reveal this card in hand to special summon a White Forest monster or Azamina monster from the hand. Yes, of course, more times than not you will be summoning itself, but what the benefit that this gives it is it gives it the access to that spellcaster to work you into that level 1, Link 1 Blue Eyes to then get you to the Mausoleum, which then sets you up for your additional normal summon. So being able to have access to something like the LZ Azamina will give you that ability to extend past it, that if you do need to use your normal summon on something like Sylvie and you do go into the Reselia, you're then able to continue to make your plays and bridge into the Blue Eyes ones as well. We've got the one, Rusia. So obviously this one's probably the least effective of all of them in my opinion, but as long as you can try a White Forest, you get to special summon it. So again, that kind of gives you the benefit that if you've already opened up your Sage of Eyes of Blue and you've got your Reselia to the field, of course you can summon down the Rusia, and then this is your level 4 or lower spellcaster that can then work its way into the Blue Eyes level 1, Link 1, sorry. So again, that's kind of how you're able to keep extending depending on what type of different interactions your opponent is throwing at you. The last White Forest S card we play is the one Woes of the White Forest. I still like it as that ability to synchro summon during your opponent's turn. And again, when you start taking into account the Azamina version, you'll start looking at Queen of the Azaminas, you'll be looking at Sinful Spores of the White Forest. That's when you're going to start utilizing your Hallowed Azamina, your Azamina Efes as well. So you've got loads of different options that start opening up if you do want to go down the Azamina route. This is kind of a cool hybrid that lets you bounce between 1 or 2 of the engines as well. So that's it for the White Forest engine. Now moving on to your generic cards, whether that be your field breakers, whether that be your hand traps, you name it. So with this deck like here, I've tried to go with your generic card, so I went with 2 Book of Eclipse in the main deck and the 1 Call by the Grave. The benefit is that something like your Diabell Queen will give you the ability to recycle some of these cards, but I kind of wanted to go with more spells and traps rather than dedicated monster hand traps, because then that gave me the ability to send them off of the effects of the White Forest, give me a bit more consistency. Rather than seeing a whole hand of monsters, I could adapt it a bit more, and I decided to go with 2 Field Breakers in Book of Eclipse, which is my personal choice right now. I know it's not the perfect one, but when I was looking at stuff like Forbidden Drop Player, I didn't want to constantly keep having resources to send. Dark Rule No More isn't that effective right now in the current format. You could consider something like XYZ Encore, but that's going to be more suited for the side deck. You could consider something like Evenly Match, which gives you the benefit of going second if you want to, but I felt the Book of Eclipse was a bit more of a balanced one than Evenly Match, because it is, if I go first and I don't think this is going to be effective for me, I can send it. If I do think it's going to be effective for me, I can set it. And then obviously going second, I can activate Book of Eclipse, which lets me deal with or pretty much shut off my opponent's Raziel field and then allow me to build up a little bit more from there. Then for the actual monster hand traps, I've got 2 Effect Veiler. Now, I've decided not to play Ash Blossom because this is the only monster hand trap that I play. Again, this can become a 3rd Book of Eclipse. It can become 2 Evenly Matches. It can become more Field Breakers. It really is up to you. For the other hand traps, I am playing triple Infinite Impermanence, and I feel in this version, more than any others, you can utilise Dominus Purge a little bit more, for the pure fact that it's a trap card that you can send and then add back, of course, with your White Forest plays. It locks you out of being able to use Dark Waters and Fires, which is absolutely fine, which is why there's no Ash Blossom in here. Yes, you can still play Ash Blossom with it, but it'd be one of the ones that you need to make sure you activate Ash Blossom first. And the way that I looked at it was, if I don't activate Ash Blossom and I draw Ash Blossom from my 6th card, I don't really want to normal summon it because it has no bridge capabilities to get me into either of my engines. It doesn't really add me anything more, and it just becomes a dead monster that can't even be discarded off of the back of my White Forest monsters, which is why I went with Dominus Purge over anything else. The last cards that I've chosen to main deck is the Black Goat last, just because I'm restricting myself with the amount of actual monster hand traps that I'm playing. I want to be able to play cards like this that I can send and then set up a form of negation on my opponent's field, which can be very, very useful, and I kind of went with the Black Goat last over anything else. When you start integrating the Azamina engine, that's when you can start utilizing more space like this, cutting it down, changing it around as you see fit. But as you can see with this particular lineup, I decided to go with more traps that were effective for me than more monster effects. You could also consider stuff like Forbidden Chalice as well, which is kind of a card that I like the idea of. But unlike Infinite Impermanence, which is probably the best card of its known capabilities, and then the ability to play Purge, it has to be utilized going first as a set card or going second to negate a monster on the field. Moving into the extra deck, of course, we do play the 3 White Forest Synchro monsters, the Roselia, the Diabell, and of course the Silveria. So this is your Book of Moon monster, which is going to be the most way of being able to disrupt an opponent's board. This is the one that's going to allow you to recycle some spells and traps from the graveyard. And then this is the one that lets you search out your spellcasters in the form of either bridging over to an extender for the White Forest cards, or of course working your way into the Sage of Visor Blue. Then we do play the 1 Chaos Angel, which is the big benefit that you're going to be able to get by playing this particular version, because Spirit Dragon plus a level 1 tuner can work you into the Chaos Angel quite effectively, but then you also need to take into account the other Azamina cards, the other White Forest cards, which can also work with a Blue Eyes White Dragon. So if you were to have LZ, this is a level 2, it can be used as a tuner because you're going to be making Chaos Angel. You've of course got your Estella as well, and then you do also have your LZ. So the LZ Azamina, the LZ of the White Forest, and the Estella of the White Forest. All of these are your level 2s that can be used as tuners, even though they are not tuners, when you are going to make Chaos Angel specifically. Yes, you'll only get the 1 effect of Chaos Angel, which synchro monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's monster effects, but that's still going to be very, very helpful, and the ability to be able to banish one of your opponent's cards. It gives you a very nice aggressive outreach. Then, of course, we do play the 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, backed up by the 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. And then the other targets that we are utilising off of the back of the Spirit Dragon, you can work your way into a Crimson Dragon should you want to, and then ultimately the other Crimson Dragon targets. But I decided to go with Ancient Fairy Dragon, Lightstorm Dragon, and Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Now, the Ancient Fairy Dragon is mainly in here for the side deck, and the reason I say that is because what I wanted to try and do with this particular deck is, with Ancient Fairy Dragon, if you're going first, the exact same combo that I do in most of my Blue Eyes hybrids that involve Ancient Fairy Dragon is you want to add an additional level 1 tuner to the field, and then that works your way into an Ancient Fairy Dragon, destroying the field spell, searching you out another field spell, gaining 1,000 life points, and then you work it into a Crystal Wing. The additional field spell that you're going to be searching is Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and what you would do is you would actually leave some of your White Forest spellcasters on the board. So you would either leave a Silveria on the field, but you could also leave, wherever it may be, You can also leave your Roselia. You can also have the ability of your White Forest in the graveyard of, once I get back to them, you've got your Rusia, and of course you've got your Sylvie, that both have the effect to put back your White Forest Synchro monsters and get them back to the field. So what this build really does, especially when you can utilize True Light bringing back a Maiden, is it kind of re-facilitates that ability to keep the Secret Village lock in play once you get it, which is why I'm using it as more of a side deck card rather than a main deck card, because it's one of the ones that once I get to it, I'm going to adapt my strategy to know that the build that I'm facing or my opponent that I'm facing has to use spell cards and don't play any spellcasters. And I go, okay, cool, Secret Village, put a lock down, and let's say I keep the Roselia on the field, or I keep the Maiden on the field. And then once they try and kill the Maiden, whether they bounce the Maiden, get rid of the Maiden, whatever, I can then utilize the Grave Effect of the Sylvie to bring it back to the field. That's another spellcaster I have to deal with. They get rid of this, I go, okay, cool, bring back the Rusia, and again, they're still under the exact same lock. If I feel that they've got enough to bounce in and they've got a quick play spell card to utilize, I'd make sure I'm going to have two of the spellcasters on the field at all times, and that's just going to give you a bit more of a grind and a bit more of an edge when you're trying to lock your opponent down like that. And then, of course, you do play the one Neo Blue Eyes and the one Blue Eyes Tyrant alongside the two Spirit Dragons. Pretty staple on this one. You can rely less on the Spirit Dragon in this particular version should you need to, and it does open up the options for more synchro plays. Again, as I've already mentioned, you can work your way into even more spellcaster synchro plays, but you do also open up the doors to other synchro options should you want to, like going down a Crimson Dragon route, which your White Forest monsters can help you do, because you do produce White Forest monsters that are tuners in the form of level 6s, being your Sylvia and of course your Roselia. And then of course you do have a level 8 synchro monster that can then be used as synchro material with the right materials to get you into other cards as well. The benefit of something like the Diabell is being a level 8. We've already mentioned that all of our level 2 White Forest cards can then be utilized to get into a Chaos Angel, and that's how you can add an aggressive spin to the field as well. So that's it for the entire profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very basic combo to kind of get it all ticking. It will all stem from LZ plus any spell or trap that you're going to have, and we've already shown you how many different kind of spells and traps you have in the deck to make it as consistent as possible. So I'm going to reset, I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm going to show you how you work your way from your White Forest to your Blue Eyes. So we'll be back in a second. So the combo consists of LZ plus 2 spells or traps that can be discarded, and don't worry because you're going to be able to add one of these back to the hand, which you'll see later on in the combo. So you're going to start off by utilizing LZ, sending a spell or trap from the hand to special summon itself down. In doing so, it'll allow you to add a White Forest from the deck to the hand, and you're going to want to go for a Stellar. You normal summon down a Stellar using its effect to send the other spell or trap. Now keeping in mind this will be reduced to 1 spell and trap if it is a White Forest trap that can reset itself, but considering we're only playing 1 copy of that, I wanted to show you the more consistent version. So this will then allow you to special summon a White Forest from the deck, so it's going to be able to get this, get your Sylvie on normal or special will then allow you to grab the tails, so you'll be able to utilize as many searches as possible. So yes, draw does suck. Then you're going to want to synchro your Sylvie plus your Estella and get yourself into your Roselia. The benefit of Roselia is on special summon, you get to send a spell trap from the hand or field to the graveyard to then add a White Forest card or a light spellcaster. So you're going to send your tails, and this will then allow you to grab your Sage. After this, a chain of events will start, being at Chain Link 1, Estella, Chain Link 2, Tails. Estella will come back to the field because a spell trap was sent to activate a monster effect, and then Tails will be able to be added back to the field. You can now activate the Tails, or of course you can synchro off if you wanted to. So you can start off by synchroing off, it doesn't make a big difference here. This will then get you into your Diabell. Diabell will then allow you to recycle any of the trap cards that you sent during the first combo back to the hand. Then you'll be able to utilize the ability of Tails, activating Tails to grab you hold of the Roselia, as this is going to be your free extender. So now that you've added the Roselia, this is then going to act as your free extender, but you've got to make sure that the free extender is a spellcaster in order to get it to the field. So you're going to be able to summon down the Roselia. This will then be able to link off either itself or of course the LZ, and this is just going to go straight into your Spirit with Eyes of Blue. If you want the draw, you can send the spell or trap that you added back off the Diabell, but the chances are when you've added it back, you're doing it because that's what you're going to need to utilize even further or be more effective during your opponent's turn. You'll then be able to utilize Spirit to grab you the Mausoleum and activate the Mausoleum, target your Diabell Queen just to give it that attack boost, send in Blue Eyes from deck to the grave, and then you're going to be able to use your additional normal summon of Sage, which will then in turn grab you Maiden. Use Maiden's effect to grab you the True Light, and now you have the perfect setup in the graveyard of Blue Eyes and Maiden, so you can use Spirit's effect to tribute it off to bring back Blue Eyes, and in turn bring in back Maiden. So now this is where the field currently kind of stands, and you do have the ability with Black Goat still in the hand, or that Spell and Trap still in the hand, is you can synchro these into a 9. This will be your Spirit Dragon. And this is where you can kind of go a little bit further depending on what else you want to present to the field. So you've got your 2 here that if you wanted to, you can synchro them off to go a little bit higher. You do have the ability of tributing off the Spirit Dragon, which will give you direct access to the Ancient Fairy Dragon. The Ancient Fairy Dragon would then destroy the Mausoleum, which will then search you out your Secret Village in the main phase. So you've got that set up there. You'd then use Sage plus your Ancient Fairy Dragon to get you into a Crystal Wing. So the current field state would be True Light that still hasn't been activated yet, so you can utilize this to set your Majesty. The random trap card in the hand that you've added back, plus 2 more random cards. Your opponent would be under the Secret Village lock. You'd still have the elves there. These 2 would, of course, ultimately end up becoming something like your Crystal Wing. There we go. And this would be Ancient Secret Village of the Spellcasters because you have the Spellcaster here. It means that your opponent will need to get rid of the elves at first, and if they do that, you still have, remember, your Rusia, or of course you have your Sylvie that could put back the Recelia in order to get a Spellcaster back to the field. You still have True Light to bring you back Blue Eyes, and of course then Maiden, again getting another Spellcaster back to the field. So that's when you start entering the side deck. Now the question is, what happens if you don't enter the side deck? Well, you still have the ability of Sage plus your Blue Eyes Spirit. And if you wanted to, you could tag out the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon to go into any of your level 7s that I previously showed you. Again, be an Ancient Fairy Dragon, but with no payoff. Or of course, go into a Black Rose Moonlight, again with no payoff, just to add a Crystal Wing to this field. But then you still also have the other options if you wanted to utilize Sage plus your Blue Eye Spirit Dragon just to get you into a Chaos Angel. So you have a little bit more that you can play around with, depending on what else you wanted to go. I'm going to show you how you can go a little bit further as well. So if we just rewind this a little bit more to give you as much depth and detail about the combo as possible. So when we're in this position here, this is all saving True Light, by the way. Now I'm going to show you how you don't save True Light. So you'd synchro off these 2, specifically making sure you use Sage to get into your Spirit Dragon. Then you can use True Light. Rather than setting the Majesty towards the end of the turn, you're going to set your wishes. You'll then be able to activate the wishes. Let's discard the 1 card that we recycled back just so you know exactly what you've discarded. This will then allow you to grab your Roar, and this will then grab you, or your Majesty if you want to. This can then also grab you a second Sage. Now what you can do is you can use Sage's effect, targeting the Maiden. This will then allow you to chain Maiden's effect to bring back Blue Eyes White Dragon from the grave, and then turn the Maiden into a second Blue Eyes from the deck. So that's when you're going to get a little bit more advantage if you did decide to grab Majesty, as this will then give you 2 non-target destructions rather than 1. This would then get Blue Eyes to the field, and then what you do here is you can synchro off your LZ and your Blue Eyes White Dragon to get you into a Chaos Angel. And the reason you would do that so early is your synchro monsters are unaffected by your opponent's monster effects, meaning that this is protected, and this is protective. And then, of course, you still have this free Blue Eyes on the field. So even if you forget to use Maiden's effect, you can very easily banish the wishes, equip it with the Neo, and then turn it into your Tyrant Dragon. Not that you want to be doing that this early. You can just leave it as it is in defense. You could use Roar to get a Blue Eyes back from the grave as well. That can then facilitate some more plays for you if you needed to. But personally in this position, because I've got 2 Blue Eyes in rotation, I'd go for the Majesty, and you've got your 2 cards. So what you've done is you've sacrificed that 1 additional card in the hand to then add a Chaos Angel to the end field. If you wanted to, like I said, I feel the better way would be to go for a Secret Village lock, but that really kind of comes down to what you have available to you, and I wanted to show you different options and different variations for the exact same combo where it could get you a more lockdown board or a more aggressive board, depending on what you're trying to present and how you're trying to navigate the game. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile and combo. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. Like I said at the start of the video, I was trying to make sure that this video was shown as a White Forest version. I think a lot of builds online are showing White Forest builds when really they're White Forest Azamina Blue Eyes builds, which is very, very busy, but also kind of utilizes and leans a little bit more onto the Azamina cards. So I wanted this one to specifically reflect what the White Forest can do for the deck. And then the Azaminas, as mentioned at the start, is basically more of a protective engine that allows you to protect from Nibiru a little bit earlier on. But then you could also consider something like Crossout Designator if you are massively worried about Nibiru as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.